Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Experience Kills. This is episode 43 and we are back with our final episode before we take a little bit of a break. We're going to come back at the start of September in about 4 weeks time. I think that might exactly be 4 weeks time actually. But until then, let's go over what we've been doing this week and stuff. And joining me to do that, I have the ever co-host Rob.
Yo.
That's not you at all.
So good. Yo.
It's not me, but it's a reference to what we'll talk about in a minute.
It's a reference that Rob now understands, and it makes me so happy. And we also have a fan of Prodigy cover bands, Dodger G, Richard.
What are you talking about? It didn't even make sense when you said it pre-show. So for any listeners, it's going to make even less sense. But for what it's worth, I did once see a Prodigy cover band, if you can call it a cover band, and they just put a CD on of the Prodigy and dressed up as them, because that is what a Prodigy cover band is and necessarily does.
I love that. That makes it even better / worse. That's incredible. But yeah, we are back today, and we're going to go over what we've watched like we always do. We're going to talk about some of the news, but then we've got some big meaty chat around a couple of big games that have kind of come out this week. One of them was a beta, but the other one has definitely come out, and we're going to get into all of that. But first, let's talk about, me and Rob need to definitely talk about what we watched together this week in the same physical meat space. And Rob, I think you should tell us.
So yeah, we watched Ghostbusters 1 and 2. I'd never seen them before. It's a big failing of mine that I'd not ever watched Ghostbusters 1 and 2. But yeah, Ben found this out because I'm quite interested and hyped by the trailer for the new Ghostbusters movie in November. I think that looks really good and I want to go and see it. But I had no idea of the history and the pedigree of Ghostbusters beyond Reputation. So I released this information to Ben and he determined I was coming round. And yeah, we watched both of the films.
It gave me a really good excuse to have a nice evening with Rob, really. You know, Leah was there as well, which was nice. And we all watched Ghostbusters 1. What did you think?
They're very good films.
They're good, aren't they?
1 is better than 2.
Yes.
I did not foresee the giant Gundam Statue of Liberty happening, but here we are.
It was certainly interesting. Richard, I mean, I loved that first movie. Ghostbusters was my shit as a kid. I was, I had all the outfit, and I had the proton packs, and I had the traps, and I had the action figures, and Ecto 1, you name it. I absolutely love Ghostbusters. What about you, Richard? Where do you fall on the Ghostbusters spectrum?
I did ask my parents once if I could change my name to Ray, if that gives you any indication.
Yes.
So yeah, I love Ghostbusters. Brilliant films. I'm intrigued though, Rob. You've specified Ghostbusters 1 and 2. Have you seen the more recent one then?
I've not seen the one with Melissa McCarthy and the gender swapped roles. I've not seen that movie. Because I hadn't seen Ghostbusters, it generally didn't appeal. I might give that movie a go now that I've seen Ghostbusters. I wasn't avoiding it because of the cast or anything like that. Granted, I'm not the biggest fan of Melissa McCarthy. I just don't tend to enjoy her humour a lot. But I'm certainly more interested in potentially watching it. But yeah, I'm happy with the originals.
They still stand up, don't they? Apart from the weird rapiness, I guess.
That was quite funny watching him just fail with that.
I mean,
I quite enjoyed the failure.
Bill Murray is mad sleaze. Oh my god, Peter Venkman is just the creep. I love the fact that the best bit is when Sigourney Weaver puts him down as, you don't seem like a scientist. Well, what do I seem like? A game show host. And it's just like, yes, you are.
Just
you are basically subhuman. And it's just like, but she's brilliant because she's not a damsel and she's very strong-willed throughout, and and it's so well handled. And I think the best thing people forget is like that was kind of the first time, wasn't it? Really? I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, Richard, but I can't think of another movie that combined like high concept genre / action with comedy. Like I don't think there was any other film like that before, was there? Like that was genuinely funny and yet did, sci-fi fantasy stuff. like in a modern
horror
setting.
almost,
And horror, yeah, just genre. All of it.
The library scene is awful. It's really terrifying.
When
and
it comes
the
at
way
you.
that they, and the way that they sort of disperse that terror.
When you're 12 years old, Rob, it's very scary.
You're little, that's horrible. But I think when the theme tune kicks in, it's like, oh no, it's okay now, it's fine.
Yeah.
So it's a very clever film.
Something I noticed watching them both back to back, actually, Rob, was that the use of music in the first movie is way better as well. I mean, they have a couple of like catchy songs in the second one, but the first one's like use of score to like what Rob is to what Rich is saying is to like to remind you, oh, it's okay, it's fun. Throughout, it does a lot of heavy lifting, the score in that movie, and it's such a good film. Oh my god, so perfect.
I remember you saying that the second one they went more kiddie with it because they realised that they had quite a juvenile audience.
In
so they
some
tried to
ways,
tone a lot of bit down.
There's a lot less sexy
That might
stuff.
be why.
Yeah, a lot less sexy stuff. The thing I noticed the first time, Richard, you might remember this. You know the famous scene with the eggs cracking on her counter before she sees the portal. There, she has a bag of Stay Puft marshmallows, and I don't think I'd ever realised that sort of foreshadowing in the first act, Chekhov's gun style, before we got the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in the third act. And I'm like, I hadn't noticed that before. And it's like, I'm still picking up. I must have seen this film like 20 times, and I'm still getting little nods and little things out of it. And it's just perfect. It's such a great movie. It's right up there in my top 5 easily.
I did clock that, but it was a long time, and I'm talking into adulthood, before I realised that Stay Puft is not a legitimate US brand. I thought
Is it not?
No, it's fictional.
Okay. I suppose that makes sense because they did turn it into a giant demon marshmallow man. That's quite hard PR to break away from.
I may have worked in a place though that did at one point sell licensed official Stay Puft marshmallows. Because of course they made those at some point because fandom. But I remember that, and they were horrible. Oh, they were disgusting. So that not worth eating. But man, I'm so glad we watched that. I do think it's on Netflix, by the way, the modern one, and it's well worth checking out. I think, Rob, and I think you'll find it interesting now, at least because what they do with it.
I think it would be one of those films that I'd watch whilst I've got like a game on or something like that, because I'm not as invested in it as the originals.
But I always forget her name, Richard. What's the short-haired woman's name in the modern one? The one from SNL. No.
Kristen Wiig.
No, that's the other one. That's the long-haired blonde one in it. The short-haired blonde one.
Oh crap! I don't know, but she's funny, isn't she?
She's
What's
amazing.
Her name?
She's the best. She's the best thing in it. She's like by far the best thing in it. And she's not in it enough. But
yeah.
I can't. I can never remember her name. She's so good. Like, oh God, I've got it. Kate McKinnon.
I wouldn't have got there.
That's it. I think.
Yeah,
I think that's right. If I'm wrong, sorry.
Yes.
But no, that was epic bit of retro film night we had there. But Richard's been doing some modern films. So, what have you been watching?
I've been
Rich?
doing some modern films.
What do you want?
I've been to the Movieplex.
You sat in a dark room with strangers who probably gave you COVID. So, was it worth it?
Oh mate, that is. Before I start on the movies, that is becoming an increasingly severe irritant. The crowds in cinemas now, so annoying. Like you book your seat specifically because it's not near anybody, and then someone comes and sits by you. What is that about? So
I mean, you sound so brilliantly. I don't know what the word is, but that's such a funny thing to say. I mean, it's a cinema. People are going to sit in seats. I mean,
yeah, but not by me. There's loads of places. Sit somewhere else.
Can you not
find another seat?
Ask them when
I had to do the last 2 times I've been.
Ask them when they book you in your seat. Can you say, can you put a note on my seat that says "grumpy old man" so that nobody else will sit near me, please, just so everybody knows.
It is frustrating though. It's frustrating.
So where you go to the cinema, is it not allocated seating? Like, so people have to sit where they buy to sit.
Oh yeah, it's allocated seating,
right?
And they enforce a 1 seat gap.
Yeah.
But 1 seat is not 2 meters, mate, is it?
No, it's
so don't book 1 seat away from someone else. Go somewhere else.
Yes, but there's also meant to be no distancing in the UK, so no one's meant to care about
it. Not anymore, yeah.
Not legally, but you're still, English people have manners, apparently.
We are suggested to care. Most people still do, but there are a few that just don't.
I tell you what, I am impressed when I go to the supermarket, the amount of people still wearing masks. I am quite surprised. I thought by now most people, being general public, would have just stopped. But no, a lot of people are still wearing masks. I know I am. So it's good that, you know, that some people are still on top of that. But yeah, what did you see, Richard? You've moaned about the experience. You've moaned about human beings. But what did you see?
I watched The Suicide Squad.
And how was that's Suicide Squad?
That's just the people not wearing masks. So, anyway.
Genius.
The Suicide Squad is a good movie.
Okay, what else did you watch?
Have you
the way you said that. Full stop.
I made it sound final, didn't I?
You did.
I've got lots to say. So have you two seen the original Suicide Squad? Not to be confused with The Suicide Squad, which is a new separate film.
Yes.
Rubbish, wasn't it?
Not very good. No.
It was alright.
This is loads better. And you don't actually need to have seen anything prior. This stands on its own. And I was impressed from the get-go because it does this really rapid introduction of characters, which I criticised the original movie for, but it turns out you can do it really well. James Gunn is directing this one of Guardians of the Galaxy and Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and he introduces a slew of new characters from the depths of DC's universe. Not heard of half of them, but they're given enough sort of credence to really carry themselves on screen. It feels like they're meant to be there, even though you've never heard of these people before. Ben, you probably have. And it just sort of chucks them into a mission. They're like told, right, you're going to go on a mission now. What is? No, it doesn't matter. You go out that door. You're going on a mission. Like, fine, we're going on a mission. You're with those guys now. They're doing the mission with you. Who are they? Doesn't matter. Just go and do the thing. And it's just so quick and doesn't make any pretensions to following the general run of how you introduce characters. They're just there and they do a thing, and it's just so refreshing to not be bogged down with all of that. The introductory stuff that you have to sit through, the origin story that kind of hampers a lot of superhero movies, doesn't it? All those tropes bog it down. But that's not there in this. It just gets straight into it, and just
can you tell me, as a percentage, what is the percentage of the characters that are introduced that get killed in this movie? Is it higher than 80%?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. That's the point of doing shit like this. If you introduce a bunch of these stupid... I want to just see them die in horrific ways. That's the whole reason I'd want to see this film. So, yeah, Polka Dot Man can definitely die. I mean, I love reading into that, which was like James Gunn wanted him in the movie because he was the most obscure, unknown DC villain he could find. So it's just like, yeah, he should be in this film. So, yes, he is obscure, to say the least. No, I do want to go see it. I still want to go see it. I do think it lasted like a laugh. Yeah, definitely.
It's great, and it just looks so great. Just the visual design is beautiful. Like, you take it for granted that superhero movies will have great effects, but you don't expect the sort of colours that really pop in this film. There's so many scenes where, like, a lot of it is imaginary. Like, you'll see it from the perspective of some of the different heroes, and they'll see things in different ways. What's his name? Polka Dot Guy. He's obsessed with his mum. So whenever you're seeing things from his perspective, you'll see everyone as his mum. And it's just got really... That's because all he thinks about is his mother. So everyone he sees has got his mum's face. It's just absolutely nuts.
Okay.
Does John Cena's character survive?
There's no way in hell John Cena's character survives.
I don't want to spoil it. There's loads of people die, but you should watch it.
I hope Joel Kinnaman's character, who survived the first film, inexplicably gets killed, because it's just like, why is this man still alive? He basically has no powers, and it's just like he needs to die in this one.
It's just a guy.
Yeah, he's just a dude. I mean, obviously Harley Quinn's got to survive because she's money, for DC.
It's the only thing
view.
keeping DC's EU alive at the moment.
Pretty much, yeah. So I think she'll survive, but the rest, I want to see them all die really horribly. That's why I want to see this movie. I want to see heads pulled off, beaten to death with their own limbs, things like that. I'm down.
There's plenty of entertaining gore and fight scenes. It's kind of Deadpool leveled up, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna
really
go see
fun.
that.
Really fun movie.
I might go this evening. I'll see what the wife says. Now the next movie, right, that you've got on your list, I'll intro a little bit because I saw a trailer for this before. I can't remember what it was. I was in the cinema a couple of weeks ago, and I'd not heard of it until seeing this trailer, which is pretty rare for me because I do keep quite closely abreast of the movies that are upcoming and the buzz and stuff. I'd not heard about it at all, and this is sort of looks like a bit of an old school sort of thriller. Is that fair to say, Richard? Like a bit of a legal thriller, but Matt Damon to do with a wrongly imprisoned daughter and getting her out and stuff. Was he good? Stillwater?
It was good.
I didn't say the title, did I? Stillwater.
It's Stillwater, and it's got Matt Damon in it.
Matt Damon.
Being a deep south kind of redneck guy whose daughter is in prison in somewhere, France. And Marseille, I think it is. That's it. She's in prison in Marseille for murdering somebody 5 years before. And she maintains her innocence. And he believes that she's innocent. He regularly visits her, and she tries to convince him to speak to a lawyer to try and get her out because she thinks she's got new evidence that will free her. She's heard about someone speaking about who she thinks was the murderer, and maybe knows where he is. So she's asking this lawyer to go and investigate. So it all starts from there with the dad in Marseille visiting his daughter and trying to follow up that lead and to see if he can get her out. And you probably will have picked up, and certainly all the reviews and all the press about this film have picked up that it's based around the story of Amanda Knox, which she's not particularly happy about. So that was the first thing I read before going into seeing the movie. Have you heard about this?
Not specifically, but I am aware of Amanda Knox, but I didn't realise it was inspired by that.
It's very, very similar to the story of Amanda Knox. And she's really pissed off about it because
she wanted a payday.
Well, I guess you could reduce it to that, but it's more the fact that the Amanda Knox story is really nothing to do with Amanda Knox, is it? She's been acquitted of the crime of murdering. What was her name? Meredith Kercher, wasn't it? That's it. So she was alleged to have killed Meredith Kercher and was originally convicted, later acquitted, but everyone still equates her with that murder. It's called the Amanda Knox story, and she's forever associated with it, and she cannot escape from that despite having nothing to do with it. That's her objection. But also, if they're going to use her as inspiration for the story, maybe she should be paid for it. That was another thing that she's not happy with. And so going into it, I was in two minds whether or not it was the proper thing to do to sort of use her suffering as entertainment almost, isn't it? You could see it that way. But I don't know. That's difficult. But if you watch it on its own terms, it doesn't mention her, obviously. It's fictionalized entirely. If you watch it on its own terms, it's an interesting story about a father who can't seem to do the right thing and ends up making things worse when trying to make things better, and a daughter who follows a similar path. And it has some really interesting points to make.
Is it good? Did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, okay. I wasn't sure when I saw the trailer. I was like, I think I can wait for the streaming service release of this.
It wasn't what I expected. It goes somewhere else entirely. Because I thought it would just be the usual, right, he's got to find a guy, he's going to speak to people to help him find the guy, and then he'll find the guy. And it goes somewhere else for probably a third of the movie. Like the second act is nothing to do with the case, and it just does some really interesting things. It's worth a watch.
Okay. Okay. Right. Anything else you wanted to add, Rob, before we get into the news?
Nope.
No, nothing at all. Right. Let's do it then. Let's drive into the news. Starting off with some quick stories. I will begin. Epic, out of the Apple lawsuit, has released some documentation that shows that they've already put about $500 million into the Epic Games Store with their various promotions and whatnot, and doesn't expect to see a profit until 2027 from the titles that they are releasing. Basically, it's a huge... aggressive loss leading strategy to gain market share, and it seems to be working quite well for them, based on the information that's come out. Obviously, I'm not going to go through every one of these little bits of financial information because frankly it's quite boring, but I think on the sort of meta level, the idea, the top level, that they put such a huge investment into this storefront of theirs with no hopes of making any money for such a long period of time certainly shows their commitment to it, I think. And let's be honest, the free games they offer, the pricing models they do, the sales that they run continuously, like every sort of quarter with those vouchers they give away, they are really going after it. And the fact is, those games you get on the Epic Store, which I've always quite liked this, is that they're yours to keep forever. It doesn't matter, there's no subscription here. You just click claim, it's your game. It adds to your library. And it's all about creating that gamers' investment in their library, isn't it? People say, I've got 300 games in Steam, I don't want to split my library in Epic. Well, if like me, you've been picking up every free game as it comes out, you've now got about 300 games on Epic as well. So it's kind of like it gives you that sort of grounding and connection. It's a very smart strategy, and I think it seems to work well. The fact is, the store is kind of shit. It certainly isn't as easy to use as Steam. It's certainly not as user-friendly, to the point, by the way, where I won't even claim the games on the actual app. I will only use the Epic website because it works so much better and quicker than the actual app, even on my gaming rig. So that's kind of grim, but from a library perspective, it's certainly growing. So yeah, I don't know if you guys have got anything you wanted to add to that, but yeah.
You say it's a good strategy. It's hardly a strategy, is it? They're just brute forcing it. £500 million.
That's a strategy. That's a strategy. I mean, if you can aggressively, put that much money behind a thing, then yeah.
I think we can only determine if it's a good strategy or not in 2027 when it's starting to turn profit. That's when we can determine whether the strategy has been good or not. Right now, we're just determining that it's the strategy they're going for.
Mm-hmm. I think user data would indicate before that, but I don't think we have that, so I don't know if they're going to share that. Maybe that will come out in this ongoing lawsuit, which has definitely been overshadowed by other things in the last few weeks, but it's still happening. It's still going on.
A blizzard of things that have overshadowed.
Oh, we'll get to that later. Right, who's next up?
Next up is myself in a news story that will surprise absolutely no one. EA is confirming that the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, and to a also extent It Takes Two, have provided a big beat in the company's most recent financial quarter sales and recommitted to further investment in the Mass Effect series specifically. Basically, Mass Effect Legendary Edition made them shit tons of money, and they want to make more money. So they're going to do more with Mass Effect. This is only good news.
I think it's always good when financials prove what we already knew, which every gamer who's played Mass Effect loves pretty much. I've never heard anybody that's played all the Mass Effect games is like, oh, I don't really like those. But everybody that's played them,
hot and cold.
they seem to really enjoy them and have been telling EA for a long time, make more Mass Effect. And now the numbers on the Legendary Edition are there to back that up. Great. Like, make sure you put that money into 4 and you do it right. So, good. Richard, you haven't picked it up yet, have you?
No. It's not because I don't love Mass Effect. I think Mass Effect 2, and we've talked about this a lot on the show before, is phenomenal and probably the game of the 360 generation. But there's just so much game there. I've still got Mass Effect 3 DLC on the 360 that I haven't got through.
With Mass
You're
Effect
never
1,
going to do it.
8 hours. You can do Mass Effect 1 in 8 hours. It's easy.
Rob did.
The fact you say I'm never going to do it is kind of the point. If I'm not going to do that, I ain't going to do the whole trilogy.
You might
again,
if you bought the trilogy in a much easier to use package that didn't cause you licensing issues every time you tried to load it up. My personal experience, anyway, with the 360 back compat versions. Horrible pain in the ass. But come on, Richard, join us.
I would if I had time.
Fair enough.
When I retire.
I can't remember, Richard. I've given you this next news story because I think I remember you indicating an interest in this around the E3 unveiling of it. Is that fair?
Not especially, no. I think we were talking about whether it was just going to be a reskin or a wholesale rebuild of Mass Effect 1. I think at the time we didn't know.
I'm not talking about that now. I've moved on to the next news story. You clearly didn't pick up on that at all. That's fine. I was talking about the Evil Dead story, which I've given you, and I thought you'd indicated interest around that around it at E3, which is why I'd given you the information to pass on.
Sorry, mate.
That's all right.
Yes, so...
Smooth as butter segues.
I thought my segue was good, Rob. Tell me, I mean, was it not obvious? I mean, if it wasn't, fair enough, that's on me. But I tried.
Right, I have a note here about Evil Dead. Is that what you're referring to?
I'm referring to... Oh my... This is torture. Like, do you want me to do this news? I'll do the news story. Saber Interactive have delayed until next year the new Evil Dead game. Richard, you are so poorly organised, it upsets me sometimes.
I was doing that on purpose.
Oh, well, I couldn't tell. It was too much like that. Sounds like Richard. So
okay. So, yeah. Saber Interactive have delayed the new Evil Dead game.
We need this break, don't we? I can tell.
Into 2022. No, you're right. I get what you were trying to do there, because I did reference this in our E3 discussion before. And it wasn't even on the schedule for us to talk about. I just sort of threw it in because it looked cool. So I'm not entirely sure what sort of game it is. It looks like it's what do you call? Oh, what's that
Dead
one
by
called?
Daylight.
That's it. Dead by Daylight. It looks like that.
Game.
So you've got Ash and a bunch of other classic Evil Dead characters who will join forces to take on the Deadites in match-based battle. Apparently they're adding a single-player mode. I don't know what that would look like within that context, but just in the structure that we've seen, looks nice. You don't expect a game like that to have particularly great production values, do you? It just sort of has to work. And we'll get onto that, I think, with Back for Blood in a bit. But Evil Dead looks really polished, and I just wouldn't expect it. So I'm interested to see how that works as a game, whether the game itself has as much polish, how that feels to play. And I like the Evil Dead franchise, I like the characters, I like the humour. So hopefully they've kept some of that in there. And they need to delay it to add that level of polish that we need. That's fine by me. Let's see what happens when it comes out, but I'm interested in that.
Yeah, I mean, it says that they're adding single player as well. So if you don't want to do it in co-op, if you don't want to do it with real people, I
just said that. Are you not paying attention now?
Fuck's sake. No, I got bored.
Children, please.
I think that's probably a mistake for this game. But there you go. Because unless you can make your bots good, they're going to be embarrassingly annoying in a game like this, I suspect, or way too effective, and you'll just sort of sit back and let them do everything, one or the other. But no, the games I've played in this asymmetrical multiplayer genre, nah, I've not enjoyed them. But so I'm not particularly excited about another one of those. But Evil Dead is cool, no doubt. Yeah. Rob?
By Daylight is by far the best asymmetrical multiplayer game I think I've played. I play it now sometimes. It's still something I go to. So if it's that good, I'm interested. Otherwise, I'll pass. Horror isn't really my bag anyway. So yeah, this is a bit of a non-excitement for me.
I think you might like horror more than you realise because you didn't think Ghostbusters was scary. So maybe you don't like horror because nothing scares you. You're just like tough guy Rob.
No, there are plenty of horror movies for trailers I've seen that I just don't like.
That doesn't make
Like,
any sense, Ben.
yeah,
Sorry?
I think he's just trying to take the
It was a
piss.
callback.
It's just-
Leave me alone.
No. Yeah, no, it's... Yeah, I don't know. We shall have to see. The proof will
do
be
you
in
have
the
to
playing.
do you have to get scared then to like horror? Is that the whole point?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's like saying you really like sugar because you can't taste it. What the hell?
I mean, yeah, there's a logic to that. I don't like being scared though that much. I don't enjoy it. So if I watch a horror that isn't scary, it's more enjoyable to me. Like Cabin in the Woods comes to mind. Horror that isn't scary. So
I like Cabin in the Woods.
yeah. Which is just
we are digressing further
what are
from
you
video games.
I will talk about the next story, which is the Embracer Group, which is this quiet entity that people don't really know the name of, that is just gobbling up developers globally at quite incredible rates. This is the
It's
kind of
embracing them by any chance.
I think that might be why they went with this name, i.e. we will own everything. We will embrace you all. But basically, these are the guys behind THQ Nordic, Saber Interactive, and our favourites at Koch Media, the guys that just launched the Prime Matter publishing arm that we covered at E3 and stuff. And yeah, they've now gone and snapped up 3D Realms amongst several others, but they're the most notable developer. You know, the guys behind Duke Nukem, that seminal FPS shit show. I've never had a big love for the Duke Nukem games personally, other than that character and the voice acting being very iconic. The games aren't brilliant, none of them, even the classics, especially not the new one, which is truly terrible. I don't know about you, Richard. Do you have a fondness for the Duke games?
No, it's too juvenile. And I was a juvenile when it came out, and it was still a bit, really. So,
Yeah.
I've never been a fan. Did play it on Saturn though. I think it was kind of a big deal on Saturn when it came out.
Was it? Well, just the fact that you could run on the Saturn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you joke, but yes, essentially, it was just a game that was on Saturn, so that was cool. But yeah, not great, is it? Not a great game.
I like this. I'm just going to read this quote verbatim from the end of the Eurogamer article because it's just really weird. And finally, Embracer has also acquired Crazy Labs, developer of mobile game Super Stylist and Grimfrost, an e-commerce specialist and a leading player with a global brand within high-quality Viking merchandise. There really are companies for everything. I mean, you've got to get that Viking... I really need a nice model of a long ship. Can you sort me out? Yeah, we now know who can do that. It's Crazy Labs. It's just very... They're just buying everyone. I love it. It's great. Be aggressive.
It's exactly what Microsoft have done.
Yeah, but in a kind of like... They're doing it in a slightly more like low profile... Don't look over here. Don't look over here. Shh. We're just going to own everybody. We're going to do a 10-cent. Kind of thing, isn't it? It's that Chinese style of acquisition where you will look around and it'll be like, there are no longer any competitors in this market. There's only one ginormous company.
However, we cannot complain because Microsoft are doing it. They just throw shows about it.
Yeah, I'm not complaining. It's just interesting, I suppose. Right. So, Rob,
Speaking of Microsoft, indeed,
you have the final story, yeah, and as you are the announcements editor of fun games coming to Games with Gold, PlayStation Plus, and Game Pass. And you wear many hats, Rob. You wear many hats. So tell us about Game Pass.
So Microsoft has published its list of games arriving on Game Pass this month. And it looks to be quite busy. We've got quite a few. We have Art of Rally, a stylish driving game, arriving on Game Pass for console, PC, and cloud on the 12th of August.
What makes it stylish?
I've no idea. Never heard of it.
It's really cool. It's got like it's sort of a cel shaded, flat art style, and instead of it being like a racing sim, it's a bit more about like being cool while rallying. Looks really good. I'm going to play it.
On the 5th of August, we have Dodgeball Academia, Curse of the Dead Gods, and Lumines Remastered, while Skate for console and Skate 3 on cloud arrive via EA Play.
Richard, can I talk about some of those games before we go on to the next bit?
Go on.
Okay. Lumines, Richard, you must be a Lumines guy.
I call it Lumines. That's how I say it.
Why Viz Gilmot, yes, and Lumines, yes, as we've covered earlier. You must have played Lumines though.
Yeah.
Quality game. What a great puzzle game.
Music played puzzle. That on. What was it big on?
Vita?
PSP?
Peter? PSP? Could be earlier. I had it on Vita, definitely, as well.
Did you just call it Peter?
Peter Vita. Tasty Peter Vita.
I should have called it that. Right, Pete. Got any games this week? Yeah, I played Lumines. It is okay.
It's only okay?
I think I played it... Yeah, I think I played it way after everyone raved about it. So I was like, it's only okay. Didn't think it was that great.
Okay. What was it? Curse of the Dead Gods? I'm vaguely familiar with that. Dodgeball Academia. I might have to check that out just from the name. I don't know anything about that game.
Isn't that the... what is that?
It's probably a video game. It'd be weird if it was on Game Pass and it wasn't. But
yeah,
no, it's not
a board game they ship.
Sorry?
It's not a board game they ship out to you.
What did Richard say? What did you say?
No, isn't it the DLC for something? Or is it a new game in its own right? It
just says game here.
No, they wouldn't
assume it's a game.
They wouldn't list DLC like this. No. So, it's fine. Carry on, Rob.
So, we've got Katamari Damacy Reroll, the much beloved game. Which sees you roll around as a ball of stuff. Also arriving on Game Pass on the 5th of August.
Have you never played Katamari, Rob? The way you said that with that derision in your tone of voice, it was like Rob has never experienced Katamari.
Do you think I'm going to pass on that one? I think I'm going to pass on that one.
They're fun. They're fun. They're really silly, but they're good fun.
On the 17th of August, we have the Microsoft Solitaire Collection Premium Edition.
Right, I don't know what happened here. But that shit installed itself on my PC without me even asking me. I turned on my my Xbox Game Pass app on PC and it was just there. I was like, okay, cool. I mean, I probably would have downloaded it anyway.
Conditions allowing that.
Yeah, weird.
Then, following EA buying Codemaster, a whole batch of the devs' games are arriving to EA Play roster and therefore Game Pass.
Right, let me rate them as you say them. Go on. I'm gonna play these.
Dirt 4.
Dirt 4, very good.
Dirt Rally.
So Dirt 4 is obviously the more kind of arcadey version. Dirt Rally is your sim, if you're in the mood for some hardcore rally action, but it's very good.
Dirt Rally 2.0.
Better than the first Dirt Rally.
F1 2020.
Fucking incredible.
Grid 2019.
I wanted more from that game. I was really excited about that grid, and it ended up being a bit flaccid. So...
They're available on the 10th of August. A separate tweet from EA confirms that F1 2020, Dirt 5 and Grid 2019 will be added to the EA playlist at some point in the near future.
Didn't you just say they were coming? I'm confused.
Yeah, that makes no sense. Thank you, Eurogamer. So this is Xbox consoles for that lot. Maybe that's for the PC? Cloud and the PC.
Okay.
Should we just start this episode again?
No.
It's been, to be honest, it has been shambolic, but we're rolling. We ain't stopping now. This has been a shit show of a podcast thus far, and I don't see it getting any better. But there you go. Let's just keep going. We need this summer break, guys.
On top of all that, it's worth remembering that 12 Minutes and Psychonauts 2 are set to launch on Game Pass on the 19th and 25th of August, respectively. But I haven't talked about the big one coming, because the only game that anyone should give a shit about coming in August is Hades.
Oh, yeah, baby.
The only one anyone should care about.
I am intrigued about Psychonauts 2, because we did Game Pass Club Psychonauts, didn't we? And I think our kind of overriding statement was cool ideas, very dated, right? So let's see.
It's not Hades.
It's not Hades, but let's see what Psychonauts 2, it's been in development a long time. I have a lot of hope for that game, but Hades will devour my life.
Hades. 13th of August is the date you need to look out for.
Not long.
It's about a week. Not long at all. Time of recording, that is Friday.
I think it still will be Friday when it rolls around.
Well, yes. Fucking hell.
It's a good month for Game Pass. It's a really good month.
It's a good month for Game Pass.
Yeah. Really good.
Unfortunately, as ever, some games are leaving the service. I'm just going to rattle through these. Ape Out, Darksiders Genesis, Don't Starve, Final Fantasy VII, Crossing Souls, and Train Sim World leave on the 15th of August.
Not Train Sim
I'm actually sad about FF7 leaving. That is quite sad, actually.
Why?
GTA 5, meanwhile, is set to leave the subscription service on the 8th of August, so that's gone.
Yeah, but the weird thing
GTA
about
5 is gone.
the fact is, isn't everybody interested in playing GTA 5? Don't they own it due to the number of sales of that game being like a million, billion, trillion? Like everyone has bought that game on every platform at this point. So
this is something Eurogamer also immediately point out. Direct verbatim quote. Although by now I'd imagine most of us have had a chance to give it a whirl. Last night it was announced that the game has sold a staggering 150 million copies since its 2013 launch.
150 million copies. That is insane. Yes. That is almost insane.
I wonder how many people haven't got it.
3. Rob's it. I mean, I'll be honest. I had it on Xbox One. I've had it on, I guess it came out on 360 originally, didn't it? Was it 360?
GTA 5?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it's 2 generations ago now. How insane is that? And that's why, because it came out 360 and then I got the Xbox One version, I remember that, and now they're bringing it to PlayStation 5 as well, so it's just going to keep selling, Jimmy.
It's the new Skyrim.
That's crazy. Yeah. I mean, I bet those numbers are higher probably than Skyrim, aren't they? Because I don't know what Skyrim's current numbers are, but I bet you it's higher. In
fact, I've never played GTA 5 either, Rob.
I played it, I did not enjoy it. So I traded in my copy immediately.
So that I'm the guy then who's never played it, never owned it.
And you don't own it on anything either?
Nope.
Oh, that is surprising, Richard.
So it is currently being, according to a very quickly searched for Wikipedia list, so guaranteed correctness
100% accuracy, yep.
Grand Theft Auto 5 has sold 150 million copies. It's being beaten by Minecraft at 200 million.
I'm not sure that counts though, but anyway.
Yes, it does. It's a game. It counts.
Does it have physical release though, or isn't it just a digitally distributed game?
It used to.
What? Where's that rule come from?
I'm making rules.
Sold copy. He just wants Minecraft to not be the right game. He's trying to change the rules.
Where's Skyrim?
So he's right.
Where's Skyrim?
Skyrim ranks joint 19th on the list.
Low.
At 30 million copies. Guys, I do not believe that for a minute.
Sounds low.
It's Skyrim.
That's got to be higher than that.
That makes no sense. So it's sold like 10,000 copies per format that it's on.
Yeah, very good. Does the Alexa version count as a sale when you activate Skyrim on your Alexa device?
I'm saying yes. Anyway, yes.
That's right. So that brings us to the end of the short news stories. I have very little hope for any kind of well thought out, structured discussion topics, especially considering what they are. And so we approach these big stories with some trepidation. But obviously, this is now week 3 of Activision Blizzard shit show Palooza. Which is my new title for it. And I've given this over to Richard to hit on. He wasn't here last week. And earlier on, we found out Richard has only played one Blizzard game in his entire life, which is Overwatch. Which kind of surprised me.
Yeah, I've never played Blizzard stuff, and we're not on form this week, as you can all tell. This could get really messy.
I thought this was seamless.
It all went downhill when you missed that segue, Richard. Basically, it's your fault. So
you didn't bring it back properly.
Bring it back, Rich. Come on, save the day.
You didn't see it up properly.
Don't blame me, Richard. That's your fault.
Yeah, it's Ben's fault. It's fine.
Fuck off.
This is how things started in Blizzard, probably, isn't it? All this stupid bickering. It's probably way worse in Blizzard, to be fair.
There are so many inappropriate jokes I want to make at this point. I'm just gonna not.
We haven't got to the point yet where this story is funny. This story is still very, very not funny. So, Richard.
Yeah, you're right. I did say we're not on form. This is going to go wrong. So, the boss of Blizzard, who I don't know because I don't play Blizzard games. I don't know why Ben gave me this story. His name is Jay. I'm going to make out that's probably John, is it?
James.
Julie Allen Brack is leaving the company to pursue new opportunities. Timing is a bit weird, isn't it? So, knowing what we know about what's going on in Blizzard, I'm in two minds about that. So this is completely off the cuff without doing loads and loads of reading around the subject. So it's probably the most informed opinion you'll get from all three of us today. Makes me wonder what the reason behind that decision is. Is it to save the company, or is it to, well, one, is it to say that the company is changing direction, or is it because there is something about Mr. Brack that means he fundamentally cannot continue while these allegations are circulating? Not to say he's done anything personally, but there's certainly video of him not speaking out against inappropriate behaviour. I think lots of us will have seen that video of BlizzCon like 10 years ago, where he's on the panel talking to a lady who raises the question about hypersexualization in Blizzard games, and can we get more realistic and what's the word? Let's say realistic representation of women in games. And they just laughed at her. He was one of those guys. So I guess it's difficult for him to say that Blizzard is changing tack and taking these issues seriously if he stays in post. So he is now stepping down. And one thing that was interesting, his replacements, Jen O'Neill and Mike Ibarra, are co-leaders of Blizzard now. In the press release, they are described as leaders of great character and integrity. And not saying they're not, I'm sure they are. But it's just an interesting juxtaposition, isn't it?
Well, the implication there being
who's gone.
The implication there being Mr. Brack wasn't.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, which I think is no, and I want to mention as well. In conjunction to this, we've also seen Jesse Meschuk, who was the kind of guy in charge of HR for Blizzard. He has also now left the company as well. And this is what I was saying from the beginning. It's like, at the very least, the senior management needs to be gutted, doesn't it? I mean, we need to start there, and then they need, you got to take that level out, and then start trying to reformat this studio. Yeah. I mean, Blizzard is, the people that replaced him, by the way, I think it's interesting that they've come from Activision rather than Blizzard, so it's not an internal promotion directly from within the Blizzard's hierarchy. They've come in from Activision to step in, and I would imagine try and clean house, clear things up, give the right sort of leadership that this company is going to need, and to weather this lawsuit. My prediction right now is that Blizzard as an entity will stop. I think by the time we see Diablo 3, it'll be an Activision published game and not a Blizzard published game. I think this brand is now massively tarnished and good. I mean, like, they get what they deserve. I don't want people to lose their jobs, but at the same time, Blizzard needs to stop as an entity.
I think in a short amount of time, we're going to end up with some sort of announcement where it's going to be rebranded as a studio, where Blizzard will shut and Snowstorm will start or something.
No,
like I don't know.
They're already part of Activision, aren't they? Why rebrand it? It'll just be published by Activision. The games will come out and be made by Activision. I mean, it's already there. They don't need a new name. Activision, wherever they're, but Activision California. There you go. Typical EA style or Ubisoft style of
something like that.
Ubisoft naming.
Which is where I was attempting to imply that's what we'll have. It will just come under a different name entirely.
So, I mean, basically, they're trying really hard now to steer the message this week, is what we've seen. Lots of trying to, positive wording around moving forwards, about how they want to improve. Lots of, but obviously this has been happening while employees continue to push back, walk out, protest, all of that is going on at the same time. I think one of the interesting articles I came across this week was the article from Kotaku who spoke to the woman at the BlizzCon panel. I'm going to get that up so I can get her name. But I thought that was an interesting read about her perspective at the time, and then now her perspective on everything that's going on now. I think the best comment was a couple of years after the incident, she got through to like the final stages of an interview at Blizzard, and is now really thankful she didn't get the job. Like, that sort of says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's just like, wow, that's not amazing. Oh yeah, because the reason I don't have her name is she didn't give her real name.
She didn't want her name out
She used
there.
her World of Warcraft handle in the article with Kotaku. Xantia, I guess, yeah. Which is fair enough. I probably wouldn't want to give my name out in this situation. I wonder how Kotaku tracked it down. I mean, that's some pretty impressive journalism to find her, I suppose, after this amount of time. Yeah, it's just an ongoing process now, and you know that California is going to keep going forward with their legal stuff, and there's an additional lawsuit that's been raised by investors in the company around this, because obviously this is now going to impact their investment, because the company is now in a really bad place financially, and continuing to get worse because of the damage to their reputation. So they're now suing as well, because a lot of this behavior was obviously not disclosed and obviously not condoned by investors. So it's just going to continue rattling on, isn't it? I mean, I think we'll probably hear about more resignations and more departures. I do find it really gross, like Richard was talking about around J. Allen Brack. It's like, was it leaving the company to pursue new opportunities? I mean, come on, mate. It's not like, are you going to turn around and go, oh yeah, a year ago I planned to depart at this time in 2021. Give me a break. Give me a break. Come on, we know why you're leaving.
Even if he's done specifically nothing, he oversaw the people that did the things, so he is accountable by proxy, because he didn't call out their behaviour and stop it.
He's minimising, isn't he? I think if it was me in his position, I wouldn't be giving any statement at all. I'd just leave. To say pursuing new opportunities, I know it's like, that's just what you say, isn't it? But in this context, the shitstorm that he's leaving behind, I think I would just quietly go rather than say, yes, it's all about new opportunities.
So I guess
it's not, is it?
We have to ask ourselves, right? Was he pushed? Asked by Activision senior Kotick and stuff to leave, right? We don't know. Or did he jump? I.e., did he want to get out of the line of fire and not have to deal with this shit show going forward? If so, it just proves that he's a scummy leader, and that to leave. If he was genuinely ignorant, innocent, however you want to describe it, surely you'd want to hang around to try and help, to try and deal with this, to try and help your co-workers and employees through this really difficult time, right? So this is confirming that he was aware in one way or the other, right? So it's kind of, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. But I mean, if he's not, I don't believe, been named in any of the formal official legal complaint, so he's not necessarily on the hook specifically. But obviously, if this is cultural and he's been there under what's going on, he's known about it, and therefore by inaction condoned it. So it's grim, isn't it? It's grim, and it's just like if it does become a legal issue, it's not like leaving is going to save him. Like if there are legal elements, they will find him wherever he goes. So
if you were going to be charitable about it, right? This guy was the president of the company. He's supposed to show leadership, generally speaking, let alone in circumstances such as this. So the right thing to do would have been to stick around and say what you're going to do to fix it. Or if you're going to leave, then you say that leaving is a necessary part of putting it right.
Yeah.
You can't be trusted having overseen what's happened. Exactly. He has, hasn't he? Whether he's had anything to do with it or not, put your hands up and say,
yeah, I've
not been able to keep on top of this situation. I need to go so you can have trust in who follows me. That's the message that he needs to put out, and instead it's new opportunities, guys. See you later.
I mean, I think the HR lead, going after him only helps to confirm that it was known and ignored / condoned, because it's HR and he's quit. It's like, well, therefore you're admitting failure in your role, complete and utter failure, and culpability, and that goes upwards as well as downwards. So yeah, it's bad. It's bad. I don't think there's anything. Is there anything else you guys wanted to pull out? I mean, obviously, I will link all these stories in the show notes. There's quite a few from this week that I grabbed. We haven't covered them all exhaustively because, let's be honest, we're all feeling quite exhausted about this, because it is really hard to talk about, really disappointing, upsetting,
It's not why we get into podcasting, is it? To talk about corporations
not video
and sleazy
games.
practices.
No, it's not why we do a video game podcast. No,
but we have the responsibility to talk about this because it's something that's happened and shouldn't be tolerated. Yeah. Yes, we are 3 white cis males, but at the same time, we have to keep that conversation going because we shouldn't allow that to be allowed. We are accountable for making sure that we support the right practices wherever we choose to go.
Because silence is culpable in its own way. Yeah. So you can't just be silent on these things. No.
Exactly.
Not anymore. I think not anymore. It's very important.
I know. I plan on uninstalling any Blizzard games I've got. I plan on getting rid of and uninstalling. So I don't play them much anyway. So it's not exactly a big stance and change in behaviour for myself. Yeah. But it's I'll uninstall Hearthstone and I'll uninstall Overwatch. So it's saddening, but I just, until that company prove themselves, I just don't want to go near them.
Yeah. So how that works out. I mean, it doesn't have to be like a militant thing, does it? Like you're outside the offices with placards, but it's just this low level. When you come to make buying decisions on a game, and you look at it, and it's Ubisoft is the other one, isn't it? When you look at it, and it's a Ubisoft game, you think, well, if you're on the fence, that's the sort of thing that makes you think, well, maybe not.
Exactly.
So with a heavy fucking heart, I move on to the final discussion topic, and this really bummed me out, right? Because I loved this little indie developer. Fullbright, Richard, Fullbright, Gone Home, Tacoma. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Gone Home was great. Yeah, I finished them both.
Great games. You know, strong female character leads throughout these games. Yeah. Very, aware, smart writing. Non-cis characters. If you remember Gone Home, the twist in that, which is fantastic. Very human, very real. Turns out Steve Gaynor, co-founder of Fullbright, has stepped down due to we don't have specific sexual harassment allegations here, but we do have singling out female employees, micromanagement, a massive exodus from the company over the last few years of predominantly female employees. The company was never massive, but it reached like a dozen plus employees. It's down to 4 now due to people's resignations. And Steve Gaynor has now walked away from Fullbright. There is a fantastic report, deep dive into this on Polygon, which I will link to in the show notes. They've done a really good job here, really dug into this. I don't think it's sexual harassment, but it is bias, and it is incorrect working practices, bullying, inappropriate behavior that has led to a very uncomfortable working environment for quite a few different women. And to happen at this studio with the games that they have produced is just shit. I have very little to add to that because Gone Home was definitely my game of the year that it came out. Tacoma wasn't quite as good in my mind. It was good, but it didn't quite hit those highs. And obviously they've been working on a new game, Open Roads, which was to do with a mother and daughter kind of road trip concept, which is going to be published in conjunction with Annapurna, and that's now been delayed into next year while they try and deal with this, obviously deal with far fewer staff, trying to get this game finished. Again, a very, non-white, cisgendered perspective on a video game experience. So to hear that this leader was treating his, female members of staff in the way he was, I'm running out of words about this, guys. It's just like, I'm just so bummed that these stories keep coming up. And obviously, what's great, we talked about this last week when Leah was on the show, is that the more women that speak out means the more women speak out. Like every time somebody does it, there's a bit more confidence in it, in that you will be listened to. People will care about what you have to say, and things will improve. So that obviously, when you have a big studio like the Blizzard one come out, this is told these small outlets and women that have felt marginalized and downtrodden and ignored can now come forwards, and I think that's what we're seeing more and more of. And Oh mate, the fact that it just seems to be going on everywhere, and it's just exhausting and upsetting. And
I find myself in the curious position where, when you're saying the more women who are starting to come out and say these things, it's like, let it carry on, let it continue. Let's get everyone who's had this be able to share their experience, so we can just stop it, can put the full stop at the end of it and move forward. Let's not have any more studios like Blizzard, like these guys, where it turns into this, oh god, horrible surprise, because it just gets called out, dealt with straight away. That's the attitude the world needs to have, not just video games.
Yeah, because it will always happen, but it can happen in isolated cases that are acted upon rather than left to fester. And
exactly.
Richard, it won't always happen. It doesn't have to always happen. I know what you're saying, but at the same time, we can make this stop happening.
No, we can't. People will be shitty. People will always be shitty.
But it's the specific power imbalance between men and women in the video game industry, which seems to be these male leaders take advantage of it. Pretty much, it seems to be more often than not at the moment, right? And it's pushing the talent away. It's pushing the important voices and the different opinions away, and that can stop, right? You'll say people always be shitty, yes,
it can. We're talking across purposes.
Stuff, it's just
you're talking about the culture of leadership within the video games industry. Somehow skews towards shitty behaviour, apparently, doesn't it?
Does seem to. Yeah.
I'm not saying it doesn't, and I'm not saying that's inevitable that it has to be that way. What I'm saying is, if cases where people act in such a way are addressed as they happen, you don't get into a position where a studio, a developer, a publisher has a culture where that is acceptable. Because as soon as one person gets away with it, someone else sees that and thinks, well, that's the way it is here then.
And when it's your boss,
accrete around each other because they enable each other.
When it's your co-founder, the creative
it is
lead.
all about talking about it. There was something that stood out. You're talking about that lady at the BlizzCon conference from 10 years ago, Xantia, was it? There was something in her interview that really stood out to me. She was talking about what she remembered of that day at the conference, and when she asked her question of the panel, and there was a small group of women that cheered her question, which was quickly drowned out by men booing.
Yeah.
And I thought that perfectly sums up what they're facing, doesn't it? So it just needs more of them to shout louder and for us to support them in doing so.
Yeah, we need to. I mean, it's silly. Why do we still? I mean, what difference does it make, man, woman, in these roles? There's no difference. We're all just people, and it's like, for Christ's sake, this is what I'm. This can change, but it's so culturally ingrained in the mindsets of so many men that it's just they just take advantage. And it's like once again, there's no allegations of anything sexual here, but it's a fact that he was definitely using that power imbalance to his advantage to micromanage and make the lives of specifically female colleagues difficult in this company. In the case of Steve Gaynor, and Christ's sake. For Christ's sake, in the games they've produced, and you look at that and you go, well, surely now they're good. They're a good lot, right? They must be modern. They must be forward thinking. They can't be like that. No, it turns out it's no different. It's just shit. I have artwork have gone home on my wall in my living room. I will be taking that down because I cannot look at that right now. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, especially when you're dealing with a team of, at the time, probably 6 people, which he was one of the main driving forces behind it. It's just like, no, I don't want to rep that. I'm sorry. You've sullied that in my mind now. Thanks so fucking much, you pig. And it's just like, God. Oh, Christ. Right.
Shall we move on to
I was going to say, let's talk about some of the games we've been playing. I honestly, guys, I think that went better than I expected, considering the first half of the show, so well done. Well done, Richard, for bringing that back.
The last third, we'll just wreck it again. It's fine.
So we're gonna dive deep. I try to cut my words out. Dive deep into a couple of games. We're going to start off with the Game Pass game for this episode of the show, which was we all played new release, The Ascent, and I played it on Series S and X. Didn't check it out on PC, but yeah, So we've all been playing that. Who wants to start? Richard, you've probably played the most. Why don't you...
I've played a whole bunch of this game.
Yeah.
This is the first game for a while that I've, I suppose, really got sucked into. You know, you sometimes pick a Game Pass game to play just to see what it's like, and then you maybe move on to something else. This is the first Game Pass game for quite a long time that I've thought, no, I've got to stick with this right through to the end. And I'm really enjoying it, despite many faults, actually. But fundamentally, what a game. Really enjoying it so much. And I think what stands out first and foremost is the presentation. It's got the best colour schemes, the best lighting, the best soundtrack. It is the perfect incarnation of the cyberpunk sort of noir stylings of Blade Runner from the 80s, like down to the transparent umbrellas and
with the light poles.
Neon.
Yeah, straight up out of Blade Runner. Made me so happy.
Yeah, it is. It's not particularly original, is it? It just does all of those established ideas really well. And just to explain what it is first, I haven't actually said, have I? It's a top-down shooter, essentially, with RPG mechanics. So you can level up in different areas, reload quicker, roll faster, have more health, the usual. So you can just put different skill points into different types of ability.
I think I'd quibble with your ordering on that description a little bit. I'd probably describe it as an ARPG with twin-stick shooter mechanics. Because this is this is a heavy RPG, like heavy emphasis on the RPG. I would have said, based on the stats.
I don't think it really is. I don't think it really is. I think it's much more about the shooting, because it's got a really accomplished shooting mechanic. It's not like you'd imagine a typical RPG is about what numbers bounce off an enemy's head, and it is sort of that, but it doesn't feel like it. It doesn't feel like Borderlands style bullet sponges and you just get a new gun and new levels and then things are easier. That is kind of the same in practice, yes. But the way it feels in gunplay,
I'd say it felt exactly like what you just said.
No, I don't think it does.
100%.
Yeah, I would agree with Rob on that one.
I was getting shredded by mobs. I invested skill points into health, and I wasn't getting as shredded anymore.
Yeah, Richard.
No, I'm not saying that's not true. That is true, but there's a lot of RPGs where that is the game, and the gunplay is almost pedestrian. You know, that is not the case here. It's a properly fleshed out shooter with cover mechanics, rolling abilities, and tactical consideration is necessary to get through this game. You can't just brute force your way through. So even if you're relatively well leveled, as Ben and I found out yesterday, I was well ahead of him in levels, but I was still getting my ass handed to me when I didn't think about it. So when we used the right strategies and considered cover, considered where we were both positioning ourselves and what enemies to take out first, who to target together, all of that stuff really matters. And I think it's a really accomplished shooter because of that. To begin with, I found it quite clumsy because from an elevated perspective, a cover mechanic doesn't seem like the most sensible choice. There's often camera angles where you can't quite see whether you're behind cover, although there's a clever effect where you're sort of transparent and you can see yourself behind the cover, and the same with enemies. That stuff works, but just instinctively it doesn't feel quite right that you should be using cover from that point of view. But give it a couple of hours and it does start to make sense, and the mechanic in there that if you pull the left trigger, that will raise your gun either over cover if you're behind cover and kneeling down, or it will raise your gun from a standing position, so you'll start shooting higher rather than from the hip. And all of that
I did like.
It makes a tactical difference. So some enemies have drones that fly around their heads, and you've got to raise your gun to get to the level of the drone and take that out before you can attack them. There are so many smart combat strategies that you need to learn and make use of, that it does feel primarily a shooter to me with some cool RPG bits on it. as well. But it just looks so good. Just the level of detail is unrivaled almost. I've not seen a game of this type with so much detail in the background.
So it's a small studio. It's about 12 people out of Australia, I believe, called Neon Demon. Is that right, Richard?
That sounds
right, doesn't it? We'll go with that until you correct me anyway.
Yeah.
But somebody's going to Google it. I know you will. But no, I the visual fidelity is and the detail in the backgrounds and the crowds and the mobs is very impressive, and I think that they must be doing something clever with technology because of the perspective. You're able to control what's on the screen very easily to a degree for them. So therefore, you know exactly what the player is looking at all the time. So they can just stream what's required on screen. I'm expecting it's something like that, because I imagine the game would struggle if the perspective was, say, first person, because of the way you're looking into the distance a lot more in a first person perspective. So you're not going to be able to push as much information onto the screen. But yeah, they do stuff with that camera that at times is incredibly cinematic and really immersive in that world. The environment is the strength of this game. Like, the story, the writing is not great and often kind of hard to follow. Neon Giant, thank you, yeah.
And they're Swedish, not Australian.
Okay, all right then. I was wrong, completely wrong. That's fine. But the story and the writing isn't great, and you sometimes I was struggling to actually follow what was going on and being said, and it kind of rattles along, and I was reading subtitles quite a lot just to keep up. But then I kind of realized, who cares? I'm just going places and shooting stuff. And I kind of just embraced the leveling, embraced the badass guns you can get and stuff. I've got a big chain gun, minigun thing now, and that's pretty baller. I'm enjoying that a lot. But the game is hard. Like, the game is, like you were saying, the tactical considerations that you have to take into account when you're going into combat is very true. I mean, it's like you're often facing enemies that are higher level than you, and that if you don't think about combat and stuff, you're going to get shredded, like, really quick. And I was putting points into health, even though Richard was not. And when we played co-op, I was like considerably lower level than him, and then that definitely helped me with some power leveling. I did appreciate that. And then even when we were getting the hang of things, if we kind of didn't think for a second, we were just dead, like, so quick. Like, restart checkpoint, dead, restart checkpoint, dead. That happened a lot when we were playing yesterday.
You can bring each other back, can't you?
Yeah, there is a revive mechanic.
In theory, but
it's hard.
It's so hard to do, because the enemies don't exactly give you a chance. You can't crawl to cover into a position of safety to be revived. The enemies are just all over you, and there's often so many of them. Yeah, it just swarms you entirely.
I guess one of my criticisms of the environment, right, is sometimes it's quite hard to pick out enemies out of the environment, and especially if there's also crowds in the environment. And it's not always. I don't think it was always particularly well signposted who the bad guys were until they start shooting you, because this game has got issues. This game has a lot of issues, actually. Let's be honest. It's very fun, but there are a lot of problems. One of them is like the readability of that mini map, the readability of the normal map. Terrible. Lots of quests that did not work when we were playing. Lots of janky in co-op. The co-op seemed to increase jank by a factor of 10. Basically, because single player I didn't really have any issues that much, and then in co-op everything broke for us, didn't it? When we were playing yesterday, we couldn't turn in quests, couldn't activate quests, had all kinds of issues, didn't we?
Some of that I've since fixed, and it's not the sort of issues that we thought it was.
All right,
which is interesting. So, in my experience, there was one particular scene where you ride up a lift, and there's like a little cutscene to show you all the enemies that you're going to fight, and then when you come out of the cutscene, there's nobody there. And okay, I'm sure there's supposed to be somebody here. There's just a cutscene. So I rebooted it, and then everything was back to normal.
Yeah, I mean, but I had that problem where I had no HUD, no health bar or HUD on my screen for like a large portion of us playing together yesterday. I could not get my health bar to reappear. So I was asking Richard, Rob. I was taking down to be like, Richard, what's my health bar? Well, how am I looking? How much health have I got? Call it out. Tell me when it goes down too low so I know to hide in cover. Because I literally had no idea until your controller starts vibrating when you're like one shot away from death. It's like, I had no idea. So I couldn't tell. Yeah. That was annoying. But I mean,
on the functionality of the mission. So where I had all those enemies disappear, I thought that was the same for a bunch of other things. Like Ben, you and I we spent ages, didn't we, getting through this wave of enemies to try and get to a point where we thought a side mission would conclude, and there's supposed to be someone waiting there for you, and they weren't there. So I thought, okay, that's the same bug as I've just had, where an NPC just isn't present for some reason. I'll have to come back. But it turns out that where it's sending you, you're not able to get there yet. So where it was on the map, where it was saying, right, you're supposed to go here, you're actually supposed to go into the building next door, but you're not allowed in that until you've got through a bunch of the main missions. So it doesn't tell you any of that. It just signposts you to these side missions without telling you that you can't do them yet, and that happens more than once.
So I mean, this
problem. Well,
I mean, this it screams small team, doesn't it? Because the game is really ambitious.
Yeah.
Like there's a hell of a lot going on in this game with all the different loot and mechanics and upgrading, and your deck, and you've got your skill points, you've got all the weapons and the armor, and then you've got the huge environments, and you've got this kind of almost open world environment. Actually, a lot of it, it's like, because you can just keep going for many of the areas. There's not even that many quick there's not many loading screens, to be honest, in this game. I was quite impressed by that.
That's like the big surprise, isn't it? Because it opens into this network of tunnels, and you think, right, this is basically going to be a top-down corridor shooter. But after probably half an hour, it just really opens up into this whole world of with its own train network and all sorts of things. It's
taxi
huge.
cabs and stuff between quick, for quick travel and stuff. Like there's so much going on. It's crazy. And yeah, I really like it. I love a game that's ambitious, and I'll allow the jank and the slightly brokenness, because at its core, like you said, the shooting and the guns. Oh man, the guns they're so varied. And they sound incredible. Like some of those shotguns and like heavy and hand cannons, just the feedback of using them and seeing how they affect enemies in different ways, and how you're like completely just jib a guy at close range or set a guy on fire depending on the buffs you've got. They're really good fun. You've got powers like augmented mods and stuff. You can do this. I mean, that's why I lean it towards it being more of an RPG than a shooter first, because there are all these interconnected elements to it that are leveled and choosable by the player to build your own character out in really the way that suits you. And then on top of that, you've got a really accomplished shooting mechanic. So when the fact that all that works as well as it does, you can kind of turn a blind eye a little bit to slightly broken quests or poor signposting or a slightly shitty map, because I think that map and signposting in this game in general is just bad. The other thing I don't like is there's no sprint. It's really slow to like your run jog feels very slow when you're in these very large environments and you've got an objective on the other side and you're like, right, well, I guess I'll be running through a bunch of ads for 5 to 10 minutes. This will be great. I just want to get to this quest. So things like the little usability bits around the side could have been polished, could have been iterated on, worked on a bit more. But at its core, it's very good. Rob has been very quiet. What's going on, Rob?
It's been difficult to get a word in edgeways. The pair of you have been talking non-stop.
Tag team in this.
Which is fine. You both clearly have a good passion for the game.
Yes.
Which is also why I've been letting you talk.
What's up? Why don't you like it?
It's just a bit mediocre. Like, starting off in the tunnel section... I'm trying to. So you start off in the tunnel section, and you come across the first sort of enemies that you fight. I know they're meant to be really, really easy ones. They fucking annihilated me. I spent 20 minutes in that first room getting killed. Because they just kept murdering me. No matter what happened.
Did you dodge?
No, really?
I don't know. You might not have known there was a dodge. I don't know.
Dodge. The only way to speed up is to do the combat roll constantly.
Yes.
So just combat roll your way through corridors.
Yes.
Those initial enemies run slower than you. So the tactic there is to run backwards, plan your route so you can run backwards and guide them down a corridor so they all bunch up.
Yes, but when you've got a locked door behind you as your first entrance, that's a little difficult. That took me a little while to get through. I got a decent enough grasp of the shooting by that point, but the shooting just doesn't feel very good.
The did you? I mean, are you still with your starting pea shooter, the little handgun?
I got hold of an SMG.
Yeah,
which made everything so much better immediately.
Yes, that was what I was going to say. Oh my god, yeah.
That starting gun is awful.
It's really shit
because it was about 4 shots to kill one thing.
No, it was weird that they'd make you feel so weak.
Aim. It's like there's no fine tune on your aiming. You can do the normal stance of shooting or the higher stance of shooting, which they don't lock off until they tell you about it. So if you're doing it because you're ingrained into this first-person shooter, left trigger ADS concept or slow down aim, fine-tune aim concept, then you end up missing a load of shots. Guess what happened?
You're shooting at their heads. Yeah, exactly.
Once that was then explained, so okay, that's really nifty. I like the fact that you have that higher stance. I think that's really clever and that's really ingenious.
I will say this, Rob. Just talking quickly about when you were told how to use left trigger. I would not lament their instructional cards, because I have some kind of bug where every time I load up the game, it gives me the tutorial screens for everything all over again, which is incredibly annoying.
It takes so long to dismiss those.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah,
such a pain.
Do you have that? Do you have all of them? I get the trading. I get the one at the shop every time.
Every time I go into the menu, every time it's like crafting. No, not crafting. It'll go like loadout, armor, map screen, and it's like, for Christ's sake, go away! I just want to play the game.
I was pleasantly surprised by the RPG elements, because this game, the game I played, I thought was very different to the game I saw in the trailer. But the trailer, the snapshot that we saw at E3, looked like a very different experience. I don't know what it looked like, but it didn't look like the game that I fired up.
Yeah, it looked like it would just be a twin-stick shooter. Like a pretty twin-stick shooter. Yeah.
Explosions, twin-stick shooters, all that sort of stuff. Not what I got.
Diablo.
What I got was all right. It's fine. I'm not motivated enough to delete it from my hard drive, but I'm also not sat here going, oh my god, I need to play more. I'm sort of just going, yeah, it's all right. I'll probably throw a little bit more time into it just to see, just to make sure at some point.
I'm going to play
sort of the middle of the road.
I think you'll probably find more to enjoy when you get out of that initial area.
By the sheer bugginess, by the sounds of it, I'm starting to doubt you.
So there's a patch coming already. I think it might have already hit PC, and there are ones on its way going through cert on Xbox and stuff like that right now. So I do hope they're going to keep. Obviously, I think the game has been quite a success. Judging by the fact that loads of people are talking about it, loads of places and outlets are covering it. Obviously, it had some really annoying technical issues on PC. Did you hear about this? Right, so on PC it's meant to be like DLSS and ray tracing, right? But that was only on the Steam version of the game. For some reason, they hadn't included it on the Game Pass PC version. So they're patching that in, so it has all the bells and whistles on the PC version. And I'm gonna, when that's done, I'm definitely gonna check it out on PC as well, and just see.
You've got a hefty graphics card.
I do. Yeah. Get my ray tracing on, because it's kind of annoying that the Series X version isn't doing the ray tracing. It's because it's like the Series X can definitely handle that, so like why have we not got that included? So hopefully that'll appear at some point on the console version as well. But no, I think this was awesome, and I guess we should talk about a month's time. Is it going to be Hades?
Yes, Hades. That's what I was going to suggest. It's coming to Game Pass.
I mean, we have all played it before. I mean,
don't know what you're talking about. I know nothing about this game.
It was our game of the year from last year.
It's a first-person action game, right? That's what it is. Yeah.
So you just want another excuse to talk about Hades, Richard?
I mean, I'm definitely going to play Hades, as I call it, but whether it should be our Game Pass club, I don't know. We've talked about it a lot, haven't we?
We have talked about it a lot, yeah.
In all seriousness, it probably shouldn't be the Game Pass game.
So, Psychonauts 2?
Psychonauts 2, that would be a
we?
good shout.
Right, Rob's not really. Rob's a bit. How about Rob? I mean, I feel like no. I guess the Ascent was your shout to a degree. I don't know.
Yeah, I was fully in favour of it because it looked really good in the E3 snapshot. I think we may be trying to call such a thing a bit prematurely.
Yeah, we'll see what comes out this month. See what we can
we'll
get
see how
excited about.
things progress. Yes.
Okay.
I think that's probably the best way forward.
So the next thing I really want to talk about, we've all been playing. I was able to hook us up with some codes, baby, for the Back for Blood closed beta this weekend. It goes open beta next weekend, so everybody will be able to basically check this out. So basically, it's their way of saying, here's a demo, but we're going to call it a beta so to get everybody to get on at the same time, because this game lives and dies by a community. You need to play with real people. As me and Richard experienced, when real people drop out and you get bots, it's not great.
Shall I just do the very short sentence?
Weren't that great either.
Well, that's true. We had some shockingly bad players on our squad last
Shall I just do the short sentence summary of Back for Blood very quickly? If you like Left 4 Dead, you'll like this game.
Yes, this is almost shockingly. I was quite surprised to a degree how Left 4 Dead this was. Though, really? Why would I be surprised? But at the same time, I was expecting a bit more of an evolution of the genre. But no, this is Left 4 Dead 3 in all but name. And the reason we don't have a Left 4 Dead 3 is that Valve has that and has no interest in moving forwards with Left 4 Dead as a franchise for whatever reason. So instead we have
3s in them.
Yeah, they don't do. Yeah, they don't. Yeah, right. They don't do games with 3s in them, do you? You're right. Yeah, that's true. So Back for Blood is what we have, and I've played a lot of this. I played a bunch with Rob. I played a bunch with some randos. I've played on Xbox and PC, and I played with Richard. And obviously, as a Left 4 Dead fan, as someone who put like a crap ton of hours into those two games, this is good. This is good. Like, I am happy about Back for Blood. I'm very happy it's on Game Pass as well. So I will definitely be playing more. But Richard, go on, Rob.
I'm sorry.
That's right, you go.
So this game is exactly what I thought it was going to be. Without a shadow of a doubt, it exactly filled the expectation I had back when the first trailer came out, that it's just Left 4 Dead. But they're not zombies, because that would be trademark on Left 4 Dead, so they're slightly different. And you have the same sort of enemies with different names, because that's trademarkedly different. And it's just in 4K, which is exactly what this game is. And if you like that, that's amazing! Any innovation is going to come in Back 5 Blood, or whatever the sequel's going to be.
5 Blood.
I mean,
or Blood, I don't know. If we go down ostensibly, furious naming.
The changes that I picked out from playing this was we got this card mechanic, which are basically you can build a deck and collect these cards from using supply points. It's all kind of, there's like 12 currencies at play here and can be a little bit confusing, which is why another reason having a beta is good. It gives you a bit of a chance to get your head around it before the full release. But basically these cards are just modifiers, right? So they put a modifier on, they can make the game harder. You can do modifiers on enemies, which I think when we played it, Rob, we played it on the easiest setting. It was way too easy. There was no challenge, and the cards basically had no effect. I played subsequently a lot more normal and hard, and the cards then have a lot more impact on the gameplay. One, for example, negative effect I saw from one of the cards, or a modifier, which was like a fog had descended on the whole level. So yeah, it massively reduced visibility, which obviously had a huge impact on how hard that level was. So they are noticeable in that regard, which I thought was quite good. Obviously, positive modifiers like extra ammo, extra life, extra continues, extra stamina, that sort of thing. And obviously, so when you're playing this, you're picking a card, your squad's picking a card, so you can end up making a real interesting collection of these modifiers that will affect the game as you play through the act and stuff like that, which is cool. I like that. It's an interesting little wrinkle. It doesn't change the fundamentals of the game that much. The other thing I noticed that was a big change were the guns. So in the original Left 4 Deads, we saw, like, you start off with a crappy SMG, then you'd get the middling SMG, then you'd get the excellent SMG, right? As you progress through the act, as the difficulty ranked up, you'd get better guns. Now we have a wider selection of guns to start with, and it's much more loot based. So you have the ability to like use a shop in the safe house between the levels, between the stages, and you can then spend a currency that you can collect through the level, and also by achieving certain things on things like weapon attachments such as scopes, on things such as extra pipe bombs and other things like that, which you can then take in your loadout at the start of each level. And then throughout the level you're going to find loot, and you're going to find different guns with different attachments on it as well as you go around. I have seen everything of all kinds of variety of weapons and stuff in this game, from really powerful shotguns to SMGs to assault rifles to spiked baseball bats and everything in between. So I think that additional complexity to the loadouts just lends to a bit of more fun experience, that you find that kind of weapon that you get on with really well, and you can kind of like double down on that. And I thought that was a nice addition, and that added to it. But at its core, you're doing what you did in Left 4 Dead, which is going through these levels, from one safe house to another, killing lots of Riven, and killing lots of enhanced Riven, which have certain archetypes which may or may not seem familiar to you from previous game experiences.
Spoiler alert, they will feel very familiar to you.
For example, I mean, there is a slight difference. The boomer, right? Do you remember the big fat boy boomer in Left 4 Dead? He's kind of been made a bit more of a tough boy now. He certainly isn't a one-hit like explosion like he used to be. And now, I mean, when I played with Richard, like, we barely got out of the first building, and Richard had been taken out by one of these guys. It was like,
I didn't even see him. I fell into him.
Fell into him. Dead. He was dead straight away. It's like, oh, Richard.
Mother of God, the innovation is astounding.
Oh, so cynical. I mean, to be fair to these guys at Total Rock, they did go off to try and make something innovative, which was the asymmetrical multiplayer game Evolve, and that fell flat on its face. Nobody wanted it. So I think we're back to doing what.
I want it.
Did you play it?
I never got round to it.
Well, you're the problem. You're the problem. Had no player base. Nobody played it. Killed the servers after about, 18 months?
Well, they only made a big thing about one monster. They should have announced at the start there were 3 of the fuckers.
No, there was loads by the end. They put DLC in, extra monster. Yeah, there was loads going on. And the Hunters thing. It was interesting. I didn't think it was that much fun to play, but it was interesting. This is definitely more fun. It's got a lot to do with its familiarity. Obviously, we understand this. You can immediately dive into this and know what you're doing. Even if you've not played Left 4 Dead, you might have played Vermintide, for example, which is the same thing. Again, but just with Warhammer characters, right?
That's why I love it.
Yeah, that's a good game too. But like, Richard, what did you feel? What vibe did you enjoy this? Are you looking forward to the full release?
Yeah, definitely psyched to play it, especially because it's Game Pass. I won't need to spend any more money on it. So what's to lose? I will definitely be playing it. And I put a hell of a lot of time into Left 4 Dead 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. I'm happy that it's more of the same, frankly. It's been so long since we played those games. That I'm just happy that it is back. Yeah. What's disappointing is that not more has been made of it in the intervening years. More than anything, visually, because it's smooth enough and it looks kind of fine. But for a game that is about horror, you kind of want it to look visually convincing, don't you? And it just doesn't. I think, particularly the enemies, the main characters look okay, but the enemies, because they're in mobs, when they start filtering in ones, twos, and threes, and you start to see the lack of detail and design in them, it takes away from the experience, I think. And I'm not sure why it needed to be that way. I think the technology that we've got now could push this a bit further. Rob, you said it best. I think it feels like Left 4 Dead, but in 4K, and like an up-resed Left 4 Dead rather than a new experience. So yeah, I'm a bit disappointed that they haven't reinvented it visually and taken advantage where they could have done. But fundamentally, it is Left 4 Dead and will be a fun experience, particularly with all of the extra weaponry options that we've got with it now as well.
I think the pinnacle of this experience is going to be playing with a full team of friends.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah, we said the same thing, didn't we, Richard, as well, when we were playing last night? And you need to have 4 people that can communicate, that you can plan and deal with carefully these situations, especially on the harder difficulties. If you're not doing that, you're just going to get wiped out. Even on medium, when we were playing last night, Richard, we had those randos that were just terrible, like just utterly terrible people. And I mean, you were bad too. So really, the only good one was me.
That's not far off the truth. I mean, you played it a lot. Yesterday was my first time playing it. But even if you've got people that you're playing with, if they're not speaking to you and you don't know them, that's a difference in itself, isn't it? If you see someone you don't know fall off a truck into a big pit of zombies, your instinct is not to go rescue them first thing, is it? Your instinct is, oh, bellend.
Muppet.
And that is the issue with online co-op games where you don't have parties.
So yeah, you need people that you know, and the instinct then is you want your crew to survive. And
no, the instinct is still to call them a bellend, but to go and revive them anyway.
So you go, oh, yeah, all right, Muppet, I'm on my way. Give it a minute, Jesus.
For fuck's sake, you idiot.
Yeah, a bit of bants, isn't it?
Do you know what I mean, though?
Exactly.
The assumption is, if you don't know them, that they're rubbish at the game and it's a lost cause, you might as well leave them behind.
Well, so the hope there is because it's Game Pass. You're going to have a lot of your friends will be getting it, right? Or be able to pick it up, or at least you can suggest, hey man, you got Game Pass, like let's try it out, let's have a go, which is great. It's also cross-play enabled. So I mean, I matched in with PC players. Again, crossplay is weird. I don't know if that means we can play with PlayStation people, but we can definitely play with PC people, which is cool. Especially in co-op, you're not worried about any kind of advantageous setup. Then
exactly, it's not competitive. So
let me touch on this, right? So I played this. You're talking about fidelity, and you talked about the look of the game. I played this game on 3 platforms. I played on Series S, Series X, and I've played it on PC. Series S and X are both enhanced, so you have to have it on the internal drive and stuff. It shows that on the icon. Now we have to consider this is a beta, this is pre-release, we don't know when this beta was finished, but all I can tell you is that the PC is a lot smoother, a lot nicer, and seems to be higher resolution, like when I was playing it, than even the Series X. So I don't know exactly what's going on. All I can tell you is when I was playing it on PC, with a controller, I might add, it felt like the best of the 3. And I don't really know what's going on there behind the scenes and like what the where we're at with the console versions, but yeah, it could be that the console versions are a bit lagging behind the others. I just think everything looked, I had it all on top settings, epic or whatever they call it, and it looked and ran really nicely on PC. So yeah, I get the impression this has almost certainly primarily been developed on PC as the main platform, and that the consoles will be ports of that version that are cut down. So it'd be interesting to find out where that parity all lies. But like I said, it's crossplay, so if you have that PC option, I'll be able to come and play with you Xbox guys, for example, which is pretty sweet. So we can all play together either way. I really enjoyed it. I'm really looking forward to it. I must say, for transparency's sake, this was only a beta anyway, but the codes were provided by Warner Brothers very kindly for us to check out as a group, and I'm very excited to see this game. Is it November? The main release? October, November?
Isn't it September?
September? I love it. None of us know. Google, Back 4 Blood release date, quickly.
I'm a bit busy right now.
Yeah, you've been catted. 12th of October. 12th of October.
Different.
Couple of months away. So obviously, stuff can be done with that. And I think it's fair to say as well that you mentioned the horror element, Richard. I forgot to sort of bring you up on this.
Really?
I forgot to bring you up on this. Do you remember in Left 4 Dead how scary the witch was?
Yes.
There was nothing like the witch that I came across. I mean, we were obviously only playing Act 1, but I never had that moment of, God damn it, do you remember when you all shout at each other, whatever you do, don't wake up the witch, don't wake up the witch. Because as soon as you woke up the witch, that thing would chase you down, one hit kill you, right? So you had to sneak around the witch. Now, there was nothing like that I saw in this, which was surprising. I thought that always brought an exciting element to the experience, but this was an early game. This is Act 1. We might get characters more like that later on. And I also did play a little bit of the versus mode, and it was not very good because I could only for some reason find a match where it was just me and one other guy, and the other team had 4 players, and as soon as I spawned, I was killed repeatedly. So I didn't enjoy that, but hopefully that will work better upon full release. But yeah, campaign at its core, that's Left 4 Dead. Oh, did you guys like the hub? I really like the hub with the shooting range. I enjoyed that.
We had fun with that, didn't we? Chasing each other down.
Did he kill you a lot?
We killed each other a lot.
Yeah.
It was mutual killing.
Yeah, he accidentally killed me, and then that took 15 minutes for us to stop.
Kind of the same thing that happened with Richard, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that wasn't accidental, was it, with Richard? You knew what you were doing at that point.
I always know what I'm doing when I'm griefing people.
Did you try to play it off like, oh, I didn't know that would team kill? I'm so sorry. Let me do it again. Is that what you did?
I had a good time. But yeah, out on everything. 12th of October, I want to say. Yeah, Xbox, PlayStation, PC. Yeah, everything except Switch. Yeah. So it's going to be out on everything. Yeah, worth checking out. If you Game Pass, it's obvious you're going to give this a go. But that was Back for Blood. Right. Let's move on. I have played some other games. You guys have not. So I want to quickly touch upon The Ramp on PC. And The Ramp is a low stress, more of like, how would I describe this? More like an interactive toy than a game. And it's basically a little bit of a chill bit of skateboarding, Richard. You like your skateboarding games, don't you? And
in theory, and then I don't play them.
So this is just, I was inspired by the amazing performance of, what's her name, Sky Brown at the Olympics at 13 years of age, getting a bronze medal. Couldn't believe that, you know. Well done to her. I was inspired by that. I felt like playing some skateboarding, and everybody was talking about this, and this had just come out. And I was like, all right, I'll check out The Ramp.
Love that. Inspired by Olympian achievement. I'm going to put a video game on.
I mean, you've got to know your limits, mate. There's a difference between 13-year-old Olympic bronze medalist and nearly 40-year-old Ben. All right, I'm not going to try and do skateboarding at nearly 40. I mean, I did enough of it in my youth and hurt myself enough back then. I'm not going to try and do that again right now. No way. So I went and played The Ramp, and it's really chill and it's really nice. And you just pull some tricks. It's got a lovely art style to it. Very relaxed, very easygoing. There's no like score chasing. It's just you, no leaderboards, and you just hang out on these pretty, skateboarding courses and pull off some tricks and do some ollies and stuff. It's good. It's nice, very chill. But more importantly, Richard, I bought a PS5.
Yeah, apparently. I heard this in the week. But at the time, I wasn't aware of you having any games for it. So how's that gone?
Still don't have any PS5 specific games for it, no.
So this is nuts. This is absolutely nuts. You've waited this long to buy one.
Yes.
Which normally would be an indication that...
I wasn't trying that hard. This kind of fell into my lap a bit.
You've been looking at listings for ages.
Yeah, but I never a few times
put it in your basket and then said no.
Yeah, exactly. But this one was a colleague of mine at work knew I'd been looking and basically just bought one and went, "Do you want to buy it off me?" And I went, "Oh, go on then." It's just like, and that's how I purchased the PS5 because he bought one and basically said, "It's in my car if you want it." I was like, "Oh yeah, all right."
That was quite funny. He just walked back into the office because Ben and I work in the same place. He just walked back into the office with it, and everyone was like head turning and gasping. Exist. Do you get that in Morrison's? He was like, yeah, they got the loads of them. So
a deal was done, and he was very, he didn't scout me, did it RRP on it, which is really good of him. So it's big, isn't it? Wow.
It's pretty big. It's pretty big.
I gave it a tryout on Friday.
You did.
When I was at yours for Ghostbusters. The controller.
That's it.
That's good.
Let's talk about the controller.
The controller's the shit.
That's possibly my favourite controller of all time. I'm like,
told you guys,
it's better than the Xbox controller.
It is. It's so comfortable. It's just something about the way they've designed it with it just fits in your hands and it feels really good. Like even before you start talking about the amazing, haptic feedback and adaptive triggers and all of that, the ergonomics of it is perfectly balanced. It feels great. It's the right size. And that's so impressive because Rob, everybody's got different size hands, right? And somehow it just feels good, doesn't it? Like it's got a bit of smooth plastic and then there's textured plastic, and then let's be honest, I don't love the symmetrical thumbsticks, but I've never loved that design. But this is the best iteration they've done of them so far, and then I played Astro's Playroom, Rich, and man, those triggers are kind of like black magic. I don't know how
that trigger tech needs to be an Xbox right now.
Yes, they need to get an Xbox version of that going.
They really do.
It's super impressive. Yeah. So I'm very impressed with that controller. Man, that console is humongous though. It's like quite the ugly thing. But it's weird when you compare it to the Series X. It's like, how much negative, empty shit must there be in that console? It's just space. It's just like, what is going on?
It's only ugly because it's two colours. If it was just solid black, it would be a gorgeous thing.
I don't know. I still don't love all the swooshiness. It's so unnecessary. It just is.
Yeah.
There's the design element.
Architectural vision.
Yeah, but just why? Why? I mean, it's certainly iconic in the way that you see one of those, you know what it is, because nothing else looks that shit.
Well, apart from industrial fans.
I suppose.
Yeah.
A couple of industrial fans. But no, I'm going to purchase. I'm thinking of this afternoon actually popping to a physical retailer and picking up Ratchet and Clank or Final Fantasy or possibly Miles Morales with the remastered version of the original Spider-Man. So I'm really not sure what I'm going to get yet at this point, but it won't be Demon Souls. I can tell you that.
I don't think you should get Ratchet and Clank. Not just because I think they're terrible, but because of Richard saying he just doesn't recommend them because it's not worth 70 quid.
No,
So
I
would probably
spent
cancel
70
against.
quid on it. I've got the digital version, so I spent 70 quid on a version that I cannot resell.
Ugh.
So that is painful. I did enjoy it while I had it, and it looks phenomenal. But yeah, it's still really hard to recommend something for PS5, and we're quite a way in now. This is what I was saying at the start. It's a weird time to jump in because having waited this long, it's not like there's a game out that's prompted you to buy one, is it?
I just wanted to have them all, Richard.
Yeah.
I just wanted to have them all. But no, I kind of want to play. I kind of
Returnal is worth a look.
Final Fantasy 7 as well is definitely intriguing me, that remake. So
I mean, it looks good. I don't know if it's that much better than the PS4 version.
Well, I haven't played the
that looked
PS4
pretty
version.
great anyway.
So
You've got it though, haven't you? Because it's on PS Plus.
No, I didn't have a Plus subscription.
PS Plus?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Returnal is worth a look. If you think the controller is the best
Returnal?
thing about it, then Returnal uses the controller pretty well.
I just don't know if it just looks boring. But okay. I don't know. I'll have to get some thought. I'll see what's in the physical retailer where I end up and see what they've got. Maybe they'll have some second-hand discs so I can get a deal. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, I will say
65
this
instead of 70.
Yeah, exactly. I will say this. Quite like the UI as well. I think it's a step up over the PS4. I like the focus on the games, as it were, or the thing you've got selected. Not so much a fan of the quick menu that you press when you go down to the bottom. And can you only turn off the console by going to the power button on that menu as well? That is such a slow fucking process. It's really annoying that. It was a lot quicker on the PS4. But I do like the main UI. It's much quicker and sharper, and it looks really nice when you're like selecting the game tiles. And I am, however, Richard, you say, oh, you don't have a PS5 game. The PS5 upgrade for Ghost of Tsushima is this week, which I'm really... Well, not this week, sorry, this month, which I'm really looking forward to, and I'm definitely going to get that. I'm also...
You don't have it yet, then.
You have a PS4 Star game, not a PlayStation.
I'm also
5
going to
game.
go back to Last of Us Part 2. I'm also gonna.
Yes.
I'm also gonna.
PS4 game.
I know. I'm just telling you what's inspiring me to do, Richard.
You started this saying, well, you said I haven't got a PS5 game,
but however, there's an incredible slew of games on PS4 that I've yet to do. God of War, which I never played, or played about 20 minutes of and then stopped. I'm gonna, which has been enhanced.
That's been patched for PS5.
It has.
You should, put that on your list, mate.
It is.
Do that.
It's installed.
Great.
I'm gonna start it again. I'm gonna play some of that. But and one of the things that I did quite like is I'd forgotten about this, the old PS Plus collection of games you get if you get a PS5. So you get all their kind of classic titles, don't you? Which is actually a nice little addition. So there's some very good titles in that little group as well. So I might check out some of those as well, which I haven't done before. But most of them I had, most of them I already owned. But I might have a little dabble. But no, it's the other thing I mentioned. Load times didn't feel that quick. Series X felt quicker. So I don't know what I was expecting, but it feels like when I've played the PS4 games that I have, right, not PS5, and if they especially haven't been optimized yet, their actual load times, like Ghost of Tsushima, was noticeably slower loading on the PS5 than the PS4, which I thought was weird. But I guess it's an optimization thing, and it just hasn't been tweaked to take advantage of the hardware. So, which is hopefully what will happen with the patch that's coming out this month.
That is odd. That's really weird. Pre-patch. Yeah. I've only played it on PS5, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely slower, noticeably, because the load times in PS4 on the Pro were insanely quick. like mad fast. So it was super impressive. But yeah, it was considerably slower. So yeah, that's my addict. Obviously, we'll be coming back to this, but it's nice to have the option now to play on PlayStation, even if my wife is considering divorcing me because I purchased this. So yeah, because it wasn't really.
Are you in trouble?
It wasn't one of those. I didn't really have that conversation, you know. It kind of just was in front of me, and I was just like, "Go on then."
I think that's because of her aversion to PlayStation.
She does also hate PlayStation. Yeah, everything PlayStation.
But you were at work where you were earning your own money, so that's okay, isn't it?
Yeah, I like that. I'll use that in my defence. Yes, that was good. So before we close off what we've been playing and stuff, have you guys got anything that you've remembered that you may have forgotten?
Nope.
Richard? Nope.
I don't think so. I just want to play some more Ascent.
Yeah, I might do that as well. So that brings us to the end of episode 43 of Experience Kills. And as I mentioned at the beginning, we're going to take a little break, about 4 weeks off. We'll be back the weekend of the September the 4th/5th, I think I said. Yes, that is correct. I've just checked. 4/5th. 4 weeks off. We'll come back energized and a little bit less shambolic, hopefully, and talk about all the games. Yeah, no promises. And we'll talk about all the games we've been playing and touch upon if there's any been big news. I will make a note of things if it's worth coming back to. You know, after 4 weeks, probably not much, but fingers crossed. Though, for me personally, by the time we come back, the problems in the game industry will all be fixed, and we won't have to ever talk about them again. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Yes, a lot of hope from the guys there. Yeah. Full of optimism. So until next time, you can find me at DIYE on Twitter. You can find Richard at Colonel Red. You can find Rob at Homeless Mr. Gibbs. You can find us collectively at Experience Kills. Please give us a like and subscribe on the YouTube channel and hit that notification icon so you know when the next episode is out. By the way, we might be taking a break on the podcast, but I still intend to put out stuff and videos about games and whatnot in that intervening time. There might even be more than usual because I will have that energy. So that will be coming as well. But yeah, like and subscribe. Remember, if you can't find the time to watch nearly 2 hours of video podcast, we are available where anywhere a good podcast can be found. And if you can't find us on your favourite podcast provider, do let us know and I will make that happen. That is the Experience Kills guarantee. So, until about a month from now, guys, hopefully we'll play some games, but have a lovely rest of your weekend. I'll see you all soon. Bye.
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 The goddamn start button, Jesus, man.
I had and I got that bit. I'll use that. Thank you for that. Right, okay. Hello, everyone. No, not really. I'm just trying to annoy Rob now. It's quite funny. I'm having a good time.
You're waiting till 11 because you're determined, aren't you?
Such a dick.
Such a dick. I told you on Friday I had an out.
You did. But you didn't complain when I said 11 either, so...
Yeah, it's your fault, Rob, somehow.
Yeah, it's
I'm giving him a holiday. We're having a month off because of Rob's request, partially. So, I'm being nice. Come on.
Yeah, Rob, he's allowed to treat you like shit because he's doing something else.
Yeah.
I had Rob in my house Friday night. We were very... It was lovely.
I said that I won't be around for a month because I'm moving house. And then, that entitles Ben to wait till 11. Because he's 11.
I took him in ways he'd never imagined, Richard. Right.
Slime everywhere. It's 11. Let's begin.
He slimed me, Ray.